Afternoon, folks. I know I've been away for a little bit. Family stuff. But today, let's put the tinfoil hats on. Let's sit and work this one out because it's been, well, it's kind of been nagging, and so it popped into my head. Working it around, and we know the election is going to be a shit show. It's a gimme. It's going to be a shit show. And part of the reason the election is going to be a shit show is the Democrat Party is still extremely unhappy that Hillary lost and they didn't win, and that Trump won, and that Trump is not doing the things they want them to do. Trump's not willing to bail out these major cities for their unfunded liabilities with his Emergency Powers Act, which the Democrats want. Because, let's face it, places like New York and California have billions or hundreds of billions of dollars in debt for pensions that they can't pay off. Both of these states are bankrupt, if I remember correctly, but they're not the only ones. There are other ones as well. You think like Massachusetts and Pennsylvania and shit. The Democrats want to retain power. This is a gimme. The Republicans want to retain power. I've said it before and I say it again, and I will say it again after this. There is a power block in our government. These people are known as the Uniparty. Okay? They're the elite. They're your leaders. That's what these people like to call themselves. I don't hesitate to remind people that your elected officials are supposed to be the common man. They're supposed to be members of your community who go into service to make sure that your community is looked after. But power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? We know that old saw, and it's the truth. Anybody can be bought. We're not going to delve into Epstein Island and the records, but Ghislaine Maxwell is still alive for some reason. She hasn't hung herself with toilet paper off a 3-foot-high bunk bed yet, which I always find kind of interesting. Not why we're here. The election's going to be a shit show, and so I'm trying to figure out why, what the plan is, how are they going to do this. Now, I've said before, if they get backed far enough in the corner, the Uniparty will not hesitate to detonate a dirty bomb in this country. Why would they? They don't care. You're cattle on a tax farm. You'll breed more. Your well-being means nothing to these people. That they're, as far as they're concerned, steps above you. Their shit does not stink, unlike the guy who decided to take a shit in Nancy Pelosi's driveway and then got arrested for it. If I remember correctly, it's completely okay to shit in the streets in San Francisco. I think it's a finable offense. If I remember correctly, it's like a $50 fine or maybe a $500 max fine. That's not what they nailed that guy for. They nailed that guy for threatening an elected official. Okay? He didn't throw shit at her. He didn't do what the fucking insurgent terrorist groups are doing, where they freeze shit and stuff it in a balloon and fill it up with water or whatever and let it melt and become really fetid and disgusting and then throw it at people. See, now, that would be a biological weapon. That's the same reason you're not allowed to spit on cops or healthcare workers. Biological weapons. I don't need your hepatitis and your AIDS and the other laundry list of miserable communicable diseases you can give somebody through saliva alone, let alone through feces and urine. Anyway, back on track, because you know I'm fucking horrible at this. If I was a train, there'd be 8 fucking tracks in any direction at any given time. The election. It seems apparent to most people, and I'm just going to say apparent to most people that pay attention Joe Biden does not have the charisma. Joe Biden doesn't have the public backing that Trump does. You don't see Biden signs everywhere, and you don't see Biden flotillas. And apparently, I guess, one of the news, ABC, MSNBC, one of them got caught using Latinos for Trumps in Arizona as Cubans for Biden in Florida. It was something like that. They got caught using the wrong fucking film. They had to make it look good. We're not going to go down a conspiracy theory trail of the MSN being the propaganda arm of the New World Order government. We're not going to go down. Let's get back to the election. It looks like Trump is probably going to win by a landslide, especially among the walk-in voters, the people that he wants to show up on election day and cast a ballot. It looks like Trump is going to take this handily because Joe Biden of the Harris-Biden administration, they said that this week. First Kamala said it, and then Braindead said it. So if Heels Up says it, and then Feels Up says it, they've already got the plan in place. Much like when Hillary said, do not concede under any circumstances. Now that's telling. She didn't want to concede either, but they didn't have it in place to do it then. They've had 4 years to put this in place now, and that brings me to where we are. Trump takes the walk-in ballots. Trump takes, let's call them legal ballots for what they are. So the people who actually show up to vote and give a shit, they go to Trump. And the 80 million mail-in ballots, now that's roughly, well, 335 million people, give or take, right? So 33, 17, 5, 8 3/4. And that's total population. That doesn't take out minors, the infirmed, felons who shouldn't be able to vote until their rights are restored, which is a completely another subject we could get on tomorrow, but not why we're here. Why we're here. Trump wins the walk-in. Now they're going to contest it at 12:01. Every ballot should be cast by midnight of election day, which is 11/3, right? So every ballot that is stamped 12:01, 11/4 is now invalidated. Needs to go away. Shouldn't be counted because you didn't get your ballot in on time. They're going to play that card too because it's racist to make people show up on time. Remember the thing that the Smithsonian had in the Black Cultural History section, whatever the fuck it was, where all the white privilege things like showing up on time and being polite and doing your best at your job and all that was all racist. Look it up. It's all over the net. I put it up like 2 months ago. As of 12 o'clock, they will know more or less exactly how many ballots need to be printed up and forged to flood the election. Now, you're going to sit there and you say, well, that doesn't make any fucking sense because they'll be invalidated, but you already have the postal workers. You've already seen people doing things where they really shouldn't be doing them. You've already seen election officials. And if you go back 2 years ago to Kristen Sinema, the magic ballots that were found in trunks and in closets, and then go back to 16. There's been plenty of precedents set for people ballot harvesting and people ballot box stuffing. This is nothing fucking new. Call them test runs, if you will. Kristen Sinema supposedly, allegedly, got elected through this. Razor Fist, go to Razor's channel. The Rager Hawk does a great breakdown on this. The guy's fucking spot on. He's solid. That's not the play. I don't believe that is the play. I believe the play is what you want to do is flood the election with more ballots than there are eligible voters. If you have 100% of eligible voters, which statistically impossible, 100% of anything never really happens. But just say you did. If the number is higher than 100% of eligible voters, and we've seen this happen in elections going back to the Bush era. The one that made me laugh the hardest was Obama took a county with 114% of the vote. I didn't think that was possible, but apparently it's possible. We're going to discount the fact that places like California believe that illegals need to be able to vote. We're going to discount the fact that the dead routinely vote Democrat. My mom died this year. She was 91. She died a week ago, actually. This is the first time she's ever going to vote Democrat in her life. And actually, she's not. I will tear her ballot up before I allow her to vote Democrat. But there's nothing I can do if they do it at the voting place. And if I find out that somebody voted in my mother's name and voted Democrat, I'll raise some shit. You can actually, I think you can actually go in and get your records reviewed. But she's dead now, so I'm kind of fucked there, even though I have her power of attorney. As of 12:01, when they have a realistic number, they know how many ballots they have to print, how many faux ballots, fraudulent ballots they need to flood the electorate with. I would say if you're looking at 115 to 130, 135%, you have to invalidate the election. This is not a plus-minus margin of error. This is well above and beyond the margin of error in counting, of which, of course, in an election like this, there shouldn't be, but we are talking millions of votes. If that happens, Trump is no longer president, Pence is no longer vice president. They're not. Now, I was under the impression they have to fill out their term, and their term would extend to January 20th. Makes sense. But I can't find an answer for it anywhere. Unfortunately, this is not the first time this has happened in American elections. And so originally there was put into place a way to decide a contested election. And it happened twice, 1796 and 1803, and then Congress wrote the 12th Amendment. What the 12th Amendment basically says, pursuant to the 12th Amendment, the House of Representatives is required to go into session immediately after counting of the electoral votes to vote for president if no candidate for the office receives a majority of electoral votes. Now that would be your loophole. You could literally say Donald Trump walked away on election night with a vast majority of votes, and it should be the end of the issue. It's written right there. That's the Constitution. People in the Uniparty believe the Constitution is nothing more than fancy fucking toilet paper. They do. They pay no attention to it. If they did, we wouldn't be having these problems. If they did, a lot of these people would be doing a fucking air dance, doing the hemp fandango, as it were. In this event, the House is limited to choosing from among 3 candidates, the Green, Libertarian, whatever, isn't going to crack anything, who received the most electoral votes. Each state delegation votes en bloc, which means each state delegation gets 1 vote. 50 votes will be cast. 50. With each state having a single vote, a candidate is required to receive an absolute majority of the state delegation votes, currently 26, in order for that candidate to become the president-elect. The District of Columbia, which is not a state, does not receive a vote. The House continues balloting until it elects a president. Now, I know it literally said to you that on the night, 12:01, all the votes should have been counted. They're going to play the mail-in ballot card. They're going to say, well, all the votes couldn't have possibly been counted because we still have mail-in ballots that haven't been counted yet. That's why they're literally mailing out 80 million mail-in ballots. And that is why Trump is 100% correct when he's saying these things lay in hallways, they're thrown in trash cans, they're just left out, they get posted to just bulletin boards and stuff. Anybody can fill them out. They've caught people actually paying people to fill out ballots illegally in someone else's name because, hey, here's $10. Write this, sign somebody's name on it, and go buy yourself a pint of Rebel. People make the mistake. They would never let this happen. Which they? Well, conservatives aren't going to do dick. If the conservatives were going to do anything, they would have voted out the piece of shit uniparty fucking trolls they have in the fucking government. And they don't. Because you see, it's the standard dichotomy, the left, right, blue, red, Yankees, Bo Sox, my team, your team. There are tons of studies that show that the majority of herd animals in this country that are called people are easily persuaded and swayed by exactly this thing. The Democrats are going to come back and say all duly cast ballots have not been counted, and so we can't do what the 12th Amendment says. And who's going to stop them? No one. You know why? Even with the House holding the majority, Trump could still be elected. Out of the 50 states last time, how many did he win? He fucking buried Hillary. And she got New York, she got New Jersey, she got Massachusetts, she got California. I think she picked up a couple in the Midwest too. But she didn't have 25 of the states. Wasn't even close. You know what? Hold on just a second, okay? So it looks like Hillary picked up 15 out of 50. Leaves 35 for Trump. You think Biden is going to fare any better? I stopped it so I could go over it, look it up on the computer because I didn't know how long it was going to take. Shit happens. I don't want to be rude. She won 15. She won Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, New Mexico. The fuck's on top of New Mexico? Colorado, Minnesota, Illinois, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, Ohio, and the District of Columbia. But the District of Columbia is not, well, if you're a citizen, you have to be able to vote. So that's what it is. That's it, 15 out of 50. And you think Biden is going to do better. People actually voted for Hillary because whether or not she's an evil, cackling crone known as Pantsuits McCankles, there were enough dopey women out there who voted vagina. I have to vote for her. She has a vagina. I'm not sure she does. Honestly, not sure. It's like the meme that goes around that says, you must be more confused than Michelle Obama's gynecologist, which is kind of funny because pretty sure they call her Big Mike for a reason. But that's tinfoil-hat conspiracy. So now we go back to why would they obey the rules now? And they won't. They do not care. The rules are for you. They are. You Good little cattle. Go graze and give me your tax dollars. I need to go get my hair done without a mask in a close salon. That person will be your president because that's the person who takes charge. And if you think Skeletor is bad now, oh, wait till she takes over Castle Grayskull. There'll be some good times then. Well, the Republicans and the gun-toting rednecks, and no, they won't. No, they won't. Nobody's going to rise up in armed insurrection. It's not going to fucking happen. The biggest thing you're going to see, regardless of who wins, is rioting in the streets. But you're going to see that in places where you already see it now. That much is not going to change. They're not going to come to your neighborhood. You know what? I'll rephrase that. They might. But I don't expect that to go over very well. I honestly don't. Tim Pool did the story on the guy who got charged today for defending his bar or his house or something. He brandished a weapon. He didn't even shoot anybody. He brandished a weapon. Now, in Arizona, we don't have a brandishing law. If you point a gun at somebody without provocation, this is aggravated assault. It's not brandishing. If you show them that you're armed, but you don't point the weapon at them, as I understand it, you're okay. Now, if you point a weapon at somebody, you better be fucking shooting them because you're in fear for your fucking life. Because otherwise, that's aggravated assault. You will be doing time. How you get around that when people are burning your cars and smashing your windows and your property? I don't know. That's a tough one, and there are definitely places in this country where the right for you to defend yourself is secondary to the right of the protester to threaten your life. We see it all the time now. We're at 23 minutes, so we're going to wrap this up. The game plan is flood the market, flood the ballot boxes, declare the election invalid by overloading it by a massive number of 100+%. Now, I would say 115 should be plenty, but I'm going to say they'll go with overkill, so 130%. And it's really not that many. Hold on a second. Oh, gas. All right, so we know that they're going to flood 80 million ballots in. In 2016, the total number of votes was 63 million for Trump-Pence, 65.5, so 128.5, 63, 65, 128, 128.5, 4 million for Johnson, so that puts us up around 130. 80 is still well above 50% of the total cast. The next closest person after Johnson Weld was Jill Stein with 1.4, then 700 for the Indies, and 200,000 for Constitution. So, out of 130 million ballots, we now have 80 million, and that's the projected number. I could be wrong. We now have 80 million ballots floating around in the ether, in the ozone. I am fully thinking that this is going to be the play. I'm not saying they won't drop a dirty bomb. I wouldn't put it past them. They really have to be backed into the corner, and if they do that, they're going to have to do it in Washington or take Trump out with a bomb somewhere to invalidate the whole thing and make sure that Nancy's still alive, lone survivor. What I got for you, folks. Thanks for watching, putting some eyeballs on here. New folks, thanks for looking. And if you can poke holes in my story, hit me up and let me know. What am I missing? What am I not seeing? Where's my blind spot? Where is my cognitive dissonance coming from? Otherwise, just hit me up and conversations are always good. It could be interesting because I'm a little on the board side. All right, folks. I will catch you on the next one. Thanks for coming by. Adios.